a Thought Leaders podcast.
You're so ugly. Please go get plastic surgery. I hate you, itty bitty titties. Why don't you go and die, bitch? These are not typical song lyrics, but these are lyrics of a song constructed entirely of hateful comments received by musical YouTuber Madeline Bailey. There's a trend on YouTube, female creators taking the horrific comments they receive online and putting them to music. The songs are catchy, but they speak to something much darker, the abuse that female YouTubers often face on the internet. Online harassment of women is as old as the internet itself, and YouTube is one of the places where this hatred is very present. It's nearly impossible to find a female creator who hasn't been targeted by hateful trolling. In this episode, we're going to look at the phenomenon of trolling against women on YouTube and how it affects female creators on the platform. Hello, I'm Shoshana Eilon, the COO of Thought Leaders, a company connecting YouTubers and brands. And this is Who Killed the Female YouTube Star, an investigative podcast where we delve into the glaring gender divide on YouTube. In today's list of the world's top 50 YouTubers, there are only 3 women. This podcast asks why that is. In the last episode, we looked at the evolution of YouTube and the wider creator economy, and how women were at the forefront of building the influencer industry. In today's episode, we're going to explore the harassment that women receive on YouTube and how it affects their performance on the site. In 2018, 2 Australian researchers, Inoka Amara Sakara and Will Grant, conducted a study looking at science-related YouTube channels, exploring how the negative and positive comments from those channels differed between female and male hosts. Their paper analysed 450 videos from 90 science, technology, engineering and mathematics channels. They studied over 23,000 comments in total, and what they found was significant, but not surprising. Female YouTube hosts were twice as likely to receive negative comments as male hosts, and they were 12 times more likely to receive sexist comments compared to their male counterparts. The comments for female hosts were twice as likely to be critical and 3 times as likely to be centered on their appearance. It's a phenomenon that science YouTuber Emily Graslie knows well.
Is there any part of my job that I don't look forward to? I would have to say it would be the frustratingly negative and sexist comments that I have to sift through in my various inboxes on a daily basis. Now, don't get me wrong, the overwhelming majority of comments I receive are positive and encouraging, but there are still a lot of nastiness that I have to deal with on a daily basis in trying to make these positive, encouraging videos.
From the science world to travel blogging, from comedy to cooking to crafting to every other niche in YouTube world, the vast majority of women have experienced some form of hateful comments on their videos. And a lot of these comments deal with looks. Mango Street, a YouTube channel run by a pair of photographers, interviewed a number of creators for a video investigating why there were so few female creators on YouTube. They spoke to a group of female creators, including Elle Mills, Kristen Rome, Sarah Daichi, and Jessica Cabesi.
It can be really hard to come out here and then put yourself on YouTube, and YouTube comment sections are just the pit sometimes.
I get a lot of criticisms about my type of humor, especially from male viewers, saying like that's not funny. And I find that they're just a little harder on me than I would say like a male comedy YouTuber.
You get a lot less grace. So I feel like as a female content creator and photographer, there are a lot more elements that I'm judged on, not just my work, but also it might be my personality, how I handle certain situations, how I look, what I'm wearing.
I think he said something like, that girl's ugly, she doesn't need to be in the shot. And I was like, what does me being ugly have to do with the information that I'm like presenting?
There's a lot of comments about my appearance and weight. I'd say you wouldn't necessarily see that for a guy comedy YouTuber. But yeah, as soon as they don't like something about me, they just bring in weight, my looks, or anything appearance-wise.
But the perception that because I'm a girl and I have all this expensive equipment, that it was handed to me is a little bit concerning. Just because you're a female and you're successful doesn't mean that, you know, you didn't earn it and you're not as valuable as a male photographer.
Being a girl, it can be easier for people to automatically just look at what you're wearing, what your looks are. Like, are you pretty? Stupid. No, I'm a smart, powerful woman, and like, respect that, not like if I'm pretty.
Whitney Cernak, the DIY and craft YouTuber from the Midwest that I spoke to, also had some experience of getting hate about the way she looked.
They'll make comments about appearance and things like that. And it's just like, okay. It's more like just people looking for somewhere to essentially pick a fight. If I was putting up a makeup tutorial and somebody had constructive criticism about an appearance or your hair or something, like, that's fine. But like, I'm showing you how to like paint some wood or cut, you know, do all this stuff. Like, I'm not going to get full glam to go out in my garage and use a saw. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, like, obviously the ones I get are not fun to read, but I have been lucky in the size that I am comparatively to the trolls that I get. But I have friends that, you know, they have the same people, and like, thank goodness for the hide user from channel feature on YouTube, because that helps everyone's mental health so much. Just because we put videos out there doesn't mean you have free reign to say whatever you want. Some people think that's the case, but that, you know, that's it's not some like binding contract we signed when we posted our first video, like, come at me. Like, no, that's not how it works.
This was also a sentiment shared by Emily from Brain Scoop.
The lack of acknowledgement from others around you towards these negative comments, being like, it's just YouTube. Oh, they're just anonymous comments. Don't listen to them. But when they're so personal, we can't idly sit by and tolerate internet bullying in any form, because that's what this is. This is internet bullying.
Other creators I spoke to referred to only reading comments for the first 30 minutes after posting a video, before the, quote, haters arrived. I heard about female creators sharing tactics with other creators to hide the comments or handle the hatred somehow. Everyone accepted that trolling was part and parcel of the experience of being a woman on the internet. Taylor Lorenz also spoke to me about how the tools that YouTube provides on the platform itself are insufficient in allowing female creators to filter out these hateful comments.
Look at how difficult it is for women to maintain control over their own comment sections, and how few controls YouTube gives creators over their own comment sections, It's like you have to turn comments off if you want any kind of control. And if you turn comments off, that's going to downrank and hurt your video. So it behooves you to allow basically hate on your own videos, because it boosts you in the algorithm. And then you just get more hate.
Tamar Saguy is a professor at Reichman University who has done extensive research into gender relations and gender bias. She talked to me about how our society encourages us to objectify women and how that can easily translate into online misogyny.
Women, much more than men, like culturally, are treated or seen as objects in the sense that that their bodies are something that we learn to appreciate, to look at, to evaluate, to comment on. This is this is from a very early age. We sit with our young children, we watch TV, we do it naturally. We say, oh, look how pretty she is. This one is ugly. This is part of this like objectification culture that, I mean, I don't say about the men, oh, look, he's so pretty. You know what I mean? Not to the same extent. As a culture, we always comment on women's looks. We teach our kids to do it. This is the culture. Like, women's bodies are something to look at, to appreciate, to talk about, to evaluate. So I think, again, this is very cultural, but what you're describing, to me, again, it's not a surprise. It's part of this phenomenon that women are objects. Again, we're not aware that we're doing it, but we're doing it all the time. So if we have an opportunity and it's anonymous and it's online, of course. I mean, it's almost like automatic.
This type of objectification and criticism is not just coming from men online. Journalist Taylor Lorenz has written about women hating on other women.
Well, then there are all the women, too, who are just as vicious as the men. I wrote recently about these Reddit snark threads. You know, these are vast communities of women on the internet that push the most vile, misogynistic stuff you've ever read. And their whole goal is to essentially tear down female content creators. That is what these communities are dedicated to. These communities do not exist for men. They flat out do not. And yes, maybe you can find one or two snark Reddits that like mention men sometimes. Usually it's LGBTQ men, but there's no snark communities for like the Paul brothers or, you know, the big male YouTubers, Mr. Beast.
Now, this is not just a YouTube issue. Women experiencing hate on YouTube is part of a wider problem of general misogyny on the internet. There is a massive amount of documentation out there about how bad the internet is for women. Professor Emma Jane explores the characteristics of gendered vitriol on the internet, a type of discourse marked by, quote, graphic threats of sexual violence, explicit ad hominem invective, and unapologetic misogyny. Professor Jane had so much material to work with that she eventually wrote an entire book about it, titled Misogyny Online, A Short and Brutish History. The book details a litany of truly appalling comments that she came across in her study of internet hate. And no, I won't share them here, because I don't want to have to say that stuff out loud. Jane explains in her introduction.
Men have turned on women online. As a result, the place that was supposed to be radically inclusive, a gender, race, and class-free zone, is now delivering female users a blunt message. GTFO. It stands for Get the F Out, and is what increasing numbers of women hear when they turn up online. Sometimes the directive is delivered via these 4 letters alone. More often, however, the messages are embellished.
Is that what's happening on YouTube? Women are being repeatedly told to get the f out. So in the face of so much ugly abuse, many of them are being forced to comply with that message. It makes sense that YouTubers who receive a high level of hateful comments would be less inclined to keep publishing on the platform. An article published in the Journal of International Women's Studies found YouTubers who are frequently subjected to trolling minimize their interaction with the platform. They reduce visiting and stop uploading, putting themselves at a professional disadvantage. There are countless examples of female creators who left YouTube because of the hateful comments. Jordan Taylor hosted a successful travel channel on YouTube called Travelite, which amassed over 500,000 subscribers. She quit YouTube a few years ago following the online hate she faced after she shared a story about her experience of sexual assault while traveling in India.
I got a lot of hate for that it was my fault. I deserve it because I wear a bikini in the past, and a lot of that and a lot worse. I knew that people were gonna have negative things to say, but I don't think you can be prepared for this level of hatred toward you, and to have it over something that happened to you, taking someone else's trauma. It wasn't just a few mean comments. Like, I'm used to that. I'm a YouTuber. I get that. No, this was very far beyond that. Multiple death threats, dozens and dozens of death threats, and I didn't feel safe. It just seeped into everything for so many months. I mean, I would release a new video because I really wanted to move on from that. New videos, old videos, it didn't matter. They just wanted me to see these hateful comments. Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on my email. And this is not like just 5 people. It's like, I mean, if I had to count all the messages and comments and everything, it's hundreds of thousands. It was very scary and just overwhelming in a completely awful way, and like, it was impossible to avoid is what I'm kind of trying to illustrate, because it was just everywhere.
Another example is Akila Hughes, who started making videos on YouTube in 2007, but quit the platform, partially, she said, because of the racist and misogynistic attacks she endured. She recently posted a new video on YouTube after years away from the platform, just so she could update her followers and tell them to find her content elsewhere, like Instagram and Substack. She said she would be making videos in the future, but she would make them unlisted so she wouldn't have to endure horrible comments.
I will actually be making videos that will go up on YouTube, but they're gonna be, I don't even know what the terminology is anymore. That's how long it's been since I've been like on YouTube like that. But it'll be unlisted. I don't really want to make videos for just like everybody. To be completely honest, I don't plan on reading any comments that come to this video on YouTube. I just don't think it's worthwhile, especially for like young Black creators. And that's just been proven again and again and again.
Akila has spoken out about how YouTube fails to protect female creators. The fact is that success on YouTube for women is not the same as it is for men, Akila said. It's a target on your back the moment you become successful on YouTube as a woman. YouTube wants you to post all the time. They want you to find success, but they are not going to protect you once you have it. Why is this experience specific to women? Taylor Lorenz actually interviewed Akila for an article in the Washington Post, so I asked her about this double standard and why YouTube has become such a hostile environment for women. Taylor referred to an older YouTube creator who has since stopped posting videos, but was once a household name across the world. 10 years ago, Jenna Marbles, whose real name is Jenna Moray, was one of the platform's best-known creators. She rose to fame on YouTube with her quirky comedy style that people found incredibly relatable. She started posting on her channel in 2008 and quickly gained views for her funny vlogs, DIY projects, and satirical commentary. She became one of the most subscribed and viewed creators on the platform, amassing a huge fan base. By the end of 2011, she had 2 million subscribers. 2 years later, that number had grown to 12 million subscribers. Jenna was featured in the New York Times and became known worldwide as the woman with 1 billion clicks. She became the first individual YouTube personality to become immortalized in wax at Madame Tussauds New York in 2015. Here's Taylor.
You know, if a man YouTuber does something, it's written off as like, oh, boys will be boys, right? When a woman does it, there's all this intentionality assigned to it. And, you know, people just don't forgive women. People will look for any excuse to destroy a woman's career. And it's not the same with men. And it's the systemic misogyny in our society and this systemic misogyny that's been built into the internet. And you know, you see this a lot with women. Like, I think also had Jenna not been canceled, she would have aged out in the sense that I think people, they don't like loud, outspoken women on the internet, and loud, outspoken women on the internet are only given a platform for so long. I'm actually struggling to think of anybody that's had real lasting staying power that doesn't sort of adhere to like male standards, you know, or maybe there's somebody like Trisha Paytas where she's sort of the butt of the joke. Nobody takes her seriously, and she'll never like get the brand deals that men make. You know, it's always like, oh, okay, we're just going to all agree to laugh at this woman. And maybe this woman is okay with that because she's going to sort of use that to make a career for herself, but she'll never be taken seriously. I mean, I just think there was never a world where Jenna Marbles was going to be treated equally because she's a woman and it's misogyny. That's what it is at its core.
I actually found a study that looks specifically at Jenna Marbles' content on YouTube, comparing the number of negative comments that she received with a male creator of a similar size, Ryan Higger. The study, written by Lindsay Watanis and Laurie McMillan, is titled How Jenna Marbles Negotiates a Hostile Online Environment. They found that Jenna's top videos received more than 4 times as many negative comments as Ryan's did. The same study also found that the kinds of trolling received by female and male YouTube stars were different. Men were more likely to be attacked for the content they were releasing in their videos, while female creators were the target of sexualization, objectification, and hostility. Often, it was their appearance that commenters wanted to criticize, rather than their content. This further underscores Professor Saguy's argument about how online abuse and objectification are deeply connected. In June 2020, Jenna released an apology video addressing accusations of blackface and racism in her older videos. In that video, Moray announced an indefinite hiatus from YouTube, and she hasn't released any videos since then. Jenna's career is an example of how many of the creators that first established this industry have also been pushed to the side. The YouTube apology video has become such a recognizable internet trope that it was satirized on SNL in April 2021, and PewDiePie made a video where he rated various YouTube apology videos, including his own.
Time for me to review YouTuber apologies. That's right. For some reason, I thought this was a good idea.
In many cases, however, male creators seem to bounce back from these internet scandals much faster than women, or far more unscathed by the negative attention. We've got Jeffree Star, who made racist jokes, James Charles, who admitted to exchanging sexual messages with minors, PewDiePie, who paid 2 men in India to hold up a sign that said death to Jews. And then there was Jake Paul, who uploaded a video showing the body of someone who had just committed suicide. All of these creators made apology videos for their misdeeds, and viewers forgave them. They remain massive YouTubers today, but so many female creators were not given the same grace. Jenna Marbles, cancelled. Colleen Bollinger, aka Miranda Sings, cancelled. Mika Stauffer, cancelled, even though her husband was able to bounce back from their failed international adoption scandal. So why is YouTube not doing anything about this? Beyond disproportionately punishing women and pushing creators off the platform, this online misogynistic hate can have even more extreme real-world consequences. In September 2022, the Center for Countering Digital Hate published a study on incel communities and the threat that these groups pose to women. Imran Ahmed, their CEO, wrote, "We found a particular problem on YouTube. In our experience, a platform that has been particularly poor at enforcing community standards and is slow to respond to reports of problems there." One of the study's strongest recommendations was to deplatform incel channels on YouTube. They explained that, quote, YouTube can prevent young men from being both harmed and causing harm as a result of joining incel communities by removing these incel channels. In future, it should remove incel channels and content under its existing hate speech and violent extremism policies. Since the study was published following the international press attention paid to its findings, YouTube has removed some of the channels explicitly named and shamed in the report. But it's frankly astounding that YouTube allowed this content to remain accessible for as long as it did. I asked Taylor Lorenz about this as well, about why YouTube doesn't take more decisive steps to limit the vitriol that female creators and viewers are exposed to.
They don't care about misogyny. They allow misogynistic content creators to amass millions of followers and direct targeted harassment against women because it's good for engagement and because they don't consider misogyny on the same level of racism or anti-Semitism or, you know, all of these other forms of hate that are actually policed on the platform. Like, misogyny is not something that's policed on the platform. So it's rampant. YouTube controls their platform, and tech companies can correct for things like this. Tech companies love to say, oh, it's not that our algorithms or our platform is biased. We're just a mirror to society, and we're reflecting back these big systemic biases. Sure, that's true to an extent, but you can see those systemic biases and you can correct for it. You can have grant programs. You can work with female creators. You can, again, police misogynistic hate on the platform, which they don't even do now. And they don't do any of that. Instead, they reward misogyny and they reward misogynistic creators by giving them distribution in the feed, by building algorithms that don't sort of downrank hateful content, but actually spur it, by creating these incentive structures that reward daily posting and prank videos and sort of what kind of content does that end up pushing? Like, you know, there's just so much they could do and they don't do it because they don't want to make these places safer for women. YouTube, it's just shirking responsibility in this area over and over again. They could easily make significant headway on this problem, and it's not something that they've chosen to invest in.
There was something in what Taylor said that kept coming up again and again and again, and that's about the choices that YouTube is making on a daily basis in developing this platform, the decisions that underpin all of our experiences on the site. YouTube has made certain decisions that affect what content we're exposed to and what videos go viral. All of those decisions can be summed up with one word: the algorithm. Taylor has pointed to a new culprit in our search for who killed the female YouTube star. And the culprit is coming from inside the house, as they say. The YouTube algorithm underpins every aspect of the platform. It's the magical thing that allows creators to sink or swim, to have their content reach 10 viewers, or 10,000, or 10 million? Is this infamous algorithm, and therefore YouTube, just a mirror of the biases that exist in society? Or is there something in the design and evolution of the algorithm that disadvantages female creators in some way? In our next episode, we are going to look at the algorithm and investigate what role it plays in creating and maintaining the gender gap on YouTube. Join us for our fourth and final episode of Who Killed the Female YouTube Star? This podcast was produced by me, Shoshana Eilon, and Aviva Matan-Zimmerman, with additional production, editing, and sound design support by Tracy Levy, Tom Alush, and Emma Flanders. Many thanks to David Tintner and the entire Thought Leaders team for all their help in making this series.